In this episode of Derp, I'll be fixing the random screen flashes caused by the shooting stars. This problem was introduced when I converted from 3.5 to Godot 4. If I disable the rainbow emitter in the shooting star, it goes away, so I know that is definitely the problem. Currently, I am using an animation player to set the packed color array 6 different times to shift from red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So in the rainbow particle material, the color ramp gradient value is empty, even though it is set. So this was converted over, but now it's a gradient texture 1D instead of a gradient texture. So if I just add a third color and make both of these local to scene, and I'll set the angle min and max to 720 so that the rotation is randomized on the particles. So it is better, but it draws the colored lines across the screen still, as you can see. So it's definitely less frequent, but still not ideal. And I decided that a shader would be probably much better. So I'll delete the animation player and convert the process material to a shader material. So if I run this, it throws an error because I need to set the color ramp and the scale texture. The scale is a curve texture from 1 to 0, and I'll make both points linear. And I'll set the color ramp to a new gradient texture 1D. So the first and last colors are red. And I'll fill in the entire rainbow instead of just 3 colors this time. This is 128. And green. And blue. Probably about there. And purple at the end. So I'll space those out like so. Now the shooting stars have a static rainbow trail. Next, I'll make the starting color cycle. So I'll open up the shader script, and in the process function, I'll comment out where it sets the color. So this actually produces the effect that I'm looking for. As you can see, it rotates through the gradient, but that's because it froze the color where I commented out. So, and it reuses the particles instead of just resetting it. But if I change the amount, you can see that it does reset the color. I did realize that I only need to set the color at the beginning, and it doesn't need to change in the process at all. So I'll move that line into the start function. Then replace the TV with a float. So if I set this to 0, and I'll get rid of the hue matte, then it sets the entire particle to red. If I change it to 0.3, then it should be yellow, and 0.8 should be blue or purple. So this is just the percentage through the gradient. Then I'll add a new uniform unsigned int for the color increment. This will control how many particles it takes to display the whole gradient. So the amount is 55. I'll set this to 100, which will display about half the rainbow at a time. And I'll make a new float for the color ratio. Which equals the number, which is the total particle count up to this point since it started emitting, modulo the color increment divided by the color increment, which will get a percent. So this will find the remainder out of 100 and then divide by 100. And I need to cast this as a float. And replace the percent in the texture load with the color ratio. So now that's working. And I'll lower the alpha channel on the color value so it's semi-transparent. And I'll move it back to center. And now the rainbow trails are working as they did before, but there's no random flashes or colored lines. So that's good. I also want to increase the size of the visibility rectangle for both the rainbow and the trail. So I'll set it to 1000 by 1000. That way it has some time to render before you see it. And there's more of a trail visible. Now, I don't actually need all of the features in the shader, so I'll get rid of the hue rotation and variation, and I'll get rid of the damping, orbital velocity, attractor forces, tangential, radial, and linear acceleration. And the scale is the only thing that actually changes in the process. So I'll get rid of everything else. Don't need any of the random or the base number. The base scale is always 1. That's from the scale random. And I'll make sure this still works. So that's a lot more efficient, since it doesn't have to calculate as much on the process. I could probably remove some from the start function and the shader parameters at the top as well, but I think this is good for now. So next time, hopefully I'll get the space worm working, and I would like to get the player laser beam refactored as well. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching and have a great day.